Alright, party people, welcome back to the pod. Today's episode, we're going to be talking about this NASA article about the internet not working potentially within some years. So, I haven't even tried to find the article yet. I was listening to K-Rock a little bit this morning. Shout out to K-Rock in LA. And I heard them talking about this. So let me see if I can even find the article. Internet. NASA article about internet not working. I don't know. Alright. So it's an article from 2 days ago from ScienceTimes.com. Basically it says scientists have warned about the potential impact of an upcoming solar storm, commonly referred to as an internet apocalypse, which could strike within the next decade. Guys, if we wait a decade, I'm gonna be like nearly turning 50. The spacecraft, which was launched in 2018, took a remarkable journey that brought it close to the sun's surface, where the solar wind is generated. What? I think that was part of another idea that they didn't go too far into on that little segment. I think that's like the beginning of a thought. Anyways, June 25 of 2023 at 1:57 a.m. Eastern, Kendra Stacy posted in the Science Times the title of an article entitled NASA warns of internet apocalypse that may leave people without connection for months. Parker Solar Probe tries to prevent this from happening. Don't be scared, guys. We got maybe a decade, maybe less, but years, within years. So within a decade, within about 10 years. And the question on K-Rock, or something that they were answering, was kind of like, what would you do? Like, what's your plan for this, when this happens? So I want to take more of a fun approach to it and not like a worry approach. The reason why I say that is there were years when we lived without the freaking internet, guys. Not me, not us, not all of us. I'm technically a millennial. I grew up around computers, but the first computer, I do remember when not everybody had a computer in their household. I do remember when we didn't have internet, like before we had dial-up, when we didn't have internet. I do remember not having internet. And so I remember having computers but no internet. And then we got dial-up. I don't remember when. I feel like we got dial-up when I was in like high school, maybe. Because I got my first email address when I was like 16 on Yahoo. And let me see. Because I remember in the part of LA where we moved for high school, the place closer to the beach, that my family's house is still there. This area that I'm currently sitting at right now, we moved here when I was in ninth or 10th grade. And I remember having internet in this house because I remember we had these phones, but we had one landline phone that wasn't a cordless, and then we had like maybe two other cordless phones, maybe three other cordless phones. Maybe two. I think there was one in my parents' room, one in the front of the house, and then we have like a household little office area in like past the seating area in our living room, and it's got two desks. And I feel like we had the main landline with the corded phone at that desk, I think. And maybe we had a fourth, but I remember specifically two. And then like a lot of times we just never answered it because it wasn't for us. Like I usually let my parents answer the phone. And then a lot of times those other cordless phones weren't charged. And so, we wouldn't hear them ring. Or we would not put them back on the hook because they would charge when they were on the hook. But we would use them, take them off the hook, and then we wouldn't use them anymore. So, I don't know. Anyways, the article talks about a possible internet apocalypse that could happen in the next decade. So, things that people tend to freak out about. They hear terms like internet apocalypse, and it could happen, solar flare, But they don't really read that it says, first of all, internet apocalypse is a catchy kind of term because it's like one of those phrases that develops to create some kind of fear or some kind of agenda, kind of like how social distancing, that wasn't a phrase before the Rona. Other phrases like I don't know, pretty much there's a lot of wording that came out of that. Even if you think about, the Bush era, let's get a little political. The Bush era, weapons of mass destruction. That wasn't like a thing that people really said. Terrorists, nobody was talking about terrorists before that necessarily. If you go way back, when indigenous groups were being unfortunately slaughtered and there was genocide in our country to, kill different populations of people for whatever, there's usually a financial gain behind these types of disgusting actions, and people were called savages. Like, there's different terms that people use to try to like instill kind of like an image. Internet apocalypse sounds, it kind of gets the attention of this apocalyptic believing population of people, that's usually kind of like a religious base. Even if you're not religious, maybe you grew up religious or grew up around ideas of some end time, some kind of doom. I'm not saying it's not going to happen, but I'm just saying, you see internet apocalypse, it instills fear when you first hear it, and then going from there, when you start reading everything else, it's going to be hard to actually read the words as they're written. We kind of turn it into something else. For example, have you ever been frightened, unexpectedly frightened, and then realize, oh, it's nothing, and you can calm down and think clearly, and then look at your decisions and like, why did I do that? Right? Have you ever felt that way? So, I can give an example. The night of September 11th, there was a lot of air traffic in our area with like military planes, jets, helicopters, whatever, because we're coastal. And so that night, I remember losing sleep, overhearing all these things going over the house and stuff in our area, because I was thinking there was going to be some kind of war because I'd been watching the news about terrorists all day long and watching repeatedly the Twin Towers falling and repeatedly, saw the Pentagon get crashed into. And I'm not that far from LAX. Like I said, I'm coastal. And so, LAX was under threat, I think, that day. And it's probably like on a good day, it's under 30 minutes to get there. But it's not really that far at all. It's just super trafficy. And so, yeah, I think what was going through my mind was like all these ways of like, okay, I have a bag packed, or even when there was that tsunami from Japan, again, we're coastal, and we were told, be ready, in case we need to evacuate. I have never been in an evacuation in LA. I mean, I don't even like driving across town on a Saturday. Like, I don't like to leave the house if I know I'm going to be sitting in traffic. If I'm not going to get paid for it, I don't really want to leave. I'm kind of like, I really try to schedule around traffic now that I don't have to like be going to school or into an office all the time. Like, I really try not to have to engage with traffic. But the way that I think and plan when I'm in a fear mode is, not accurate. So pay attention to that. When there's ever... sorry. Let's wait a second. Oh my gosh. Alright, it's almost gone. I opened the door anyways, just to get some fresh air. I figure I'm not talking anyways. But yeah, just pay attention to that when you read stuff. If you read first a term or phrase that instills some kind of fear, your mind is not going to think very clearly when you're reading the rest of an article. It's a bit of a tactic psychologically, is what I'm trying to get at. And so, if you read even that first sentence, scientists have warned, they're warning us that an internet apocalypse could happen within the next decade. Could happen. Could. It doesn't say will. It says could happen. And within the next decade. Within. So that means it could be next month. It could be next year. It could be in 3 years. It could be in 4 years, 5, 6, 7. Anything under 10 years. Under passing 10 years. Once you pass 10 years, it's been more than a decade. So within the next 10 years. 10 years is long, guys. But it doesn't say how long. It doesn't say a week, a month, whatever. It doesn't say anything short. And it says could. It's not will. And the way they get you in the scare part is using words like warned and internet apocalypse. And then it's like, oh, but it could happen within 10 years. It's like, okay, so just read the sentence. It's like, it doesn't mean panic. It just means it's an interesting topic. Let's look into it. A solar storm may spur this scenario and force people to go offline for months or even years. So I'm not going to read this whole dang thing because I've already talked. But what I do want to talk about is some ideas around what that might look like. So some people were saying, I'm going to go to Goodwill. Goodwill, I think, is cash based, right? You pay in cash. I don't know if you can pay in card, but I think it's a type of thrift store where you pay in cash, I believe. And this person's like, I'm going to go buy all the DVDs. And some people were saying they have like their PlayStations where they could watch DVDs. I think we have we have 1 or 2 PS2s. I think my brother and sister both have a PS2. And then, so yeah, they both have PS2s. And then, yeah. So they have PS2s. Let's see. Yeah, those play DVDs. I have an external optical drive, like USB. You can plug it into your computer. Because my laptop doesn't have any place to put any kind of CDs. So I did purchase a cheap one of those. I've never even used it, but I purchased it just to have it in case I need it. Because I might need it one day. Eventually, like, for some stuff. Like, there's some creative stuff that I'd like to get into. And I have some old, like, CD-ROMs of, like, tutorials from, like, old software that I still kind of use. So, yeah. I would probably just learn stuff that came from there. The only problem is the software I'm talking about. I don't have a hard copy version of software installed on my computer that I boot up. I basically log in to the site and it's cloud based and saves all my work on there. So yeah, I haven't really from that point I haven't really done everything quite yet. So there's that. And then I think as far as just some of the like other choices that I've made as far as like stuff to kind of engage with interesting ideas and content, online. I wouldn't be able to get to it if I were working in a digital field. I would have no job. So that's probably the biggest concern of mine at the moment, is that I would have no job. So I'd have to do marketing like off the internet. So no online stores, no websites. So two of my biggest concerns would be basically socially I'd be very impacted because I wouldn't be able to regularly connect with people that I'm used to talking to through things like texting or I could talk to them on the phone. Maybe can you use your smartphone? I guess you don't have to have internet to use your smartphone, right? Like as far as like calls, right? Because you pay for data for internet, but I think you can have calls separately. Like I think those are two separate features, right? I could be wrong about that too. But yeah, those are the things that I think would impact me the most, and then hobby-wise I could kind of figure that out. But yeah, I think just the ease of communicating with people, ordering Ubers, everything would slow down. You'd have to use the phone more. You'd probably have to rely on the radio and newspaper more. People like me who are into like marketing and stuff like that to kind of get paid from people accessing your services or whatever it may be. I don't think I'd have a lot of people accessing my stuff unless I had money to dish out to pay. The cool thing about marketing and stuff on the internet is that you get organic traffic a lot more without having to put in money. Now you have to put in time and effort and energy, and you have to produce content and you have to know what you're doing, but you can technically post on a lot of these platforms for free without subscribing to anything. The only thing you have to have is an internet connection, and you don't even have to live in a house and have internet. You can technically go to a Starbucks or a McDonald's for as long as your computer will last, or as long as they'll allow you to stay there. And or if they have an outlet and you can plug your stuff in and just use free Wi-Fi, or even sit in your freaking car. I've done that before. Sit in the car and check emails or whatever. And so if you have internet, you don't really have to even like pay for internet. you'd have to have a computer or some kind of device that you've already paid for. But other than that, I mean, there are some rare free programs out there where you can get a free smartphone or a free laptop, but it's not like within your control if you're definitely going to get it or not. You have to qualify, and there's like a wait period. But that's if you have internet. If you don't have internet, you're probably going to go back to radio, newspaper, and to market through those media, to market that way, there's a cost to it. You have to pay. You have to pay to do that. Unless you find a way to just advertise for free, or you call in. I was thinking of this idea. It's not really a smart, really well thought out one, but I was like, well, what if you have these different radio channels that you can access? Like if there's a device where you have a radio broadcast of your own, like how do you make a radio broadcast? Like, could I make my own radio broadcast and then put myself out there that way? Because you'd have to be like on the radio waves, and I don't know how to get there. I know how to call into a station if you have the phone number, but I don't know how to like create my own radio program. And I think that would be cool, to create a radio program, or create a newspaper or a magazine or something like that. That would probably be what I would do. I've done very, very small scale, like magazine type stuff for like church collegiate groups and that kind of thing, but it wasn't that popular or that interesting. But yeah, we can just kind of see like where things might go with that, and that might be what I would get up to, honestly, because I don't know what else I would do. But I don't think it would be the end of the world. It would be hard, and a lot of people would definitely panic. I might panic. I don't know. It depends, maybe financially, where I'm at. It would just be the simple things that I think would be hard at first. Like, I was thinking how comfortable I am with having like old ass cars, and how comfortable I am that I can go to the mountains and still at least get to a place where there's Wi-Fi reception, and find a map on my phone, check the weather, check the roads on my phone in real time. I think the little conveniences like that would be the hardest thing. Or if your car stalls, go on the app for AAA, because I have AAA, and get a tow truck, or get somebody to come out and do a quick charge on your battery or something like that. Like, get something going for yourself like that. So that to me would be the best option. To do that would be the best option, but I don't really know for sure if I would. So but yeah, it's not really something to like put a lot of energy into thinking about today necessarily, but it was kind of a fun topic to kind of start my day with around 7 a.m. or so, when I was like out and listening to this, when I was driving, because I kind of miss being in the car when there's like a radio show going. It's been a while since I've had that experience, so that was kind of fun. But yeah, check out the article. I'll link it in the description. That's all I have to say about that. I'm gonna get on with my morning, and have a good day, guys. With that, thanks for listening.